If you could put your hands together and welcome on stage Katherine Crowley.
Thank you. Let's see if that... Right, thank you very much, Rob, and thank you for inviting me along today. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Katherine Crowley, and another Katherine. I'm head of the real estate knowledge team at Womble Bond Dickinson, together with one other PDL whose primary focus is on maintaining precedents, and with two dedicated knowledge paralegals. We have the privilege, or misfortune if you catch me on a bad day, of looking after over 230 real estate fee earners in 7 locations, from Edinburgh down to Plymouth in the southwest. So we are a very busy team. I love technology. I'm going to say it out there. I love technology and all that it offers. And I spend about 50% of my time on real estate legal tech. I identify products that solve a problem. I trial it, I roll it out, I troubleshoot, and I make sure it is used. And I have got all the freebies to prove that. So, starting off, obviously today is the right bag, very cute search flow bag, and in fact, excuse me as I disappear, I have also got a great water bottle from Search Flow. Thank you very much. It's actually full. I'm going out tonight, so I've got that. Next up, I have DocuSign socks and DocuSign bag, even smaller. I think it's probably just a lunch bag, that one, isn't it? Maybe a tin of soup or something like that. I do have a DocuSign hoodie. I left that at home, a little bit warm today. I also have a DocuSign water bottle. And Tiger Eye socks. For those of you who don't know Tiger Eye, they provide our connector between DocuSign and iManage. I also have an iManage t-shirt. Now, I just want to say, I don't agree with ironing t-shirts, okay? They look fine on. They do look a bit grubby if you hold it up, but it's absolutely fine to wear. So obviously, iManage is our document management system, and also they provide our knowledge management system. And finally, Orbital Copilot, that's our new lease analysis platform. Old style socks, and then excitingly, new style bamboo socks. I'm told that they've had a successful funding round, and once they get new money, you get better merch. So I've now got some nice socks. I don't have anything from Avail because they give out really nice chocolate bars. Obviously, that has gone a long time ago. So I do love technology, and I am responsible for a lot of real estate tech at Womble Bond Dickinson. So you might be asking, so why am I standing in front of a slide that says people and technology, why people will always matter? Because after all, technology, the bots, AI, they're going to take over our working world, right? So this is clearly what's going to happen. No humans, the bots are in charge, and I bet none of the bots will refuse to have an upgrade and book a holiday for 2 weeks. They'll just get on with it. Now, the other scenario I'd like to present, which I think is the most exciting future prediction, is this. I mean, let's be honest, neither of those two scenarios are going to happen. I've got to say, I'm really disappointed about the Katherine scenario. I mean, heck, parents have just stopped calling their girls Katherine. Women my age, everybody was called Katherine, and we were going to dominate the world, but that hasn't happened. It's, one of those things. But people really do matter, and that's the message I want you to take home today. So I am going to go through a few human-led scenarios. First up, I'm missing a slide. Oh no, there we go, account manager. So when you choose a new technology, you need to make sure you get access to a good account manager. And I'm talking a human here. So Sherry, do stand up. Give everyone a wave. So Sherry is very much human. She's given you a non-bot human wave there. And she runs all the training sessions we need on SearchFlow. As you have heard, the real estate knowledge team, we're small and we support a lot of people. And I'd love to do everything, but I can't do everything. And there is no point introducing a new technology if you can't provide the training that's needed to get it adopted. Now, account managers can also do you favours. So, I mean, for example, they might give you a tip-off that something new is coming, and therefore you can prepare earlier and get things in place ready to go. Or they might be able to give you access to something early, or they might be able to set up a bespoke process for you that will really improve your workflow. So build a good relationship with your account manager. Now, you can try it with the AI, but let me tell you, the AI is going to be impervious to any advances. And in fact, what people don't realise is you shouldn't even be polite to AI. So I'm going to talk about legal prompting in a little bit, but when you are legal prompting, don't include the word please. Because actually, it interprets please as permissive and not mandatory. And it'll go, oh, well, she doesn't always want me to do that. So it's fine, I'll only return half the results. So be nice to your account manager, build a really good relationship, don't bother with the bots. The other thing I would say in terms of training, which your account manager should be able to do a really good job for you, is that people say, well, can't we just have a collection of videos? I'm afraid that just doesn't cut it with lawyers. A live session with a human who can answer questions goes down far better than a bunch of videos, and obviously that improves adoption. Now, we all know that technology doesn't stand still, and if it did, to be honest, you've bought the wrong product. So your account manager is also really important in terms of lobbying for the changes you want to see, so the technology remains a product you want and develops in the way you want it to go in the future. Every supplier has finite resources, finite number of developers. So it's good to have an account manager, the human, on your side, understanding your needs and effectively lobbying internally for the changes that will really take your business along. The other thing I would say is Womble Bond Dickinson fee earners, they really excel at asking weird, wonderful, and really quite challenging questions. Jamie, if you thought you had a hard time, you should rock up at you should see the questions I get about new technologies. We've talked about that trust piece, and lawyers are a little bit suspicious. Some of them are very suspicious. So if you have a good account manager who can get you the answers you need, that builds up trust and adoption. So next, human-centric design. Now, the best tech companies will always expect lawyers in their teams who understand how lawyers work and how their clients tick and design their technology accordingly. Lawyers shouldn't be put in charge of companies. I agree whether they should be put in charge of law firms, actually. They have a in delivering a product that works for lawyers. So before we signed up with Orbital Copilot, I spent a very long time looking for a lease analysis solution. One of the many platforms I looked at was one that had clearly been built without any lawyer input. So they very proudly showed me workflow and immediately identified a couple of quite significant issues. One was pretty basic. They were surprised to learn that we did repeat business for the same clients. And their workflow only allowed you to input a unique client code and not a matter code. So we couldn't distinguish between the leases that would be put through the platform. So clearly not suitable for our needs. Now, the second fundamental, assuming that two people would always be involved in the lease review, a junior lawyer and somebody more senior to supervise them. Now, that doesn't always happen. However, it proved impossible to get a lease report out of the platform unless two people had logged into the platform and pressed buttons to get the report. I have to say, talking about ruining people's mornings, I ruined their mornings because they were really proud of their product. But I probably did do them a favour because a few months later, I saw an announcement of a partnership between the provider and a law firm. They obviously realised that their product wasn't going to go anywhere without that very important human lawyer input. And again, touching on trust, in my experience, the best AI real estate technologies are usually the ones that are trained on a specific real estate knowledge base that has been put together by real estate lawyers, not the bots. And then also, no matter how good the platform is, if it clashes with the way the human lawyers work, it's not going to be used. Again, back to adoption. Now, we all know that lawyers sometimes work in less than efficient ways, shall we say. I'm all up for changing workflow. Believe me, I've had, I'm up there with my size 9s going in, you need to change, you need to change. But you have to be aware that persuading lawyers to adopt a technology that requires a completely different way to work is always going to be hard. So remember, human-centered design is what it's all about. And then some really quite basic points on using the tech. It can be as amazing as you can possibly imagine, really whizzy, but you still need a human lawyer to operate the tech. So your fee earners need to know the basics. They need to understand what the platform can do, what it can't do, so then they don't moan when it doesn't do what it's supposed, what it doesn't do what it can't do. Funny that, isn't it? And they need to be able to upload the documents. They need to understand if there are document limitations. Are there limits on the number of documents? Are there limits on the size of documents? And perhaps they have to put the information in folders to help the AI do that analysis properly. And then, of course, they need to know how to check the output. Again, this all comes back to human trust and adoption. And then, of course, they also need to know how to share the output with their colleagues. So we keep coming back to account managers, training and adoption, all of which, of course, involve humans. So I love technology. It all goes wrong. At some point, everything goes wrong. So when it does all go wrong, who are you going to call? I suspect it's not going to be Ghostbusters. In fact, some of you are probably too young to understand the joke. But technology just does go wrong. Sometimes it just blinks. Sometimes it doesn't quite integrate in the way that we thought it would. It spins out error messages. Sometimes it just spins and nothing comes out at all. Or sometimes it corrupts. So when it does all go wrong, you need a good account manager and you need good help desk support. Lawyers, as we've heard, are pretty quick to find fault with technologies. And it's therefore really important to have someone from the supplier who is available to respond to the issue and perhaps find a workaround while the tech is getting back on track. I couldn't possibly talk about technology without a slide on legal prompting, which will follow. However, humans need to be able to direct the AI. You can't leave it to its own devices. So, let me give you an example that came up recently. We were instructed by a bank to report on the forfeiture provisions in 35 commercial leases. Perfect job for Orbital Copilot. The paralegal can give a sigh of relief. We could have just gone for a prompt that said, on what grounds can the lease be forfeited? But actually, to get the most out of Gen AI, you need to shape how it answers your question. So this is where we ended up. On what grounds can the lease be forfeited? Provide a concise summary of the grounds of forfeiture in numerical list format. Do not prefix your answer with the lease contains a right of re-entry for the landlord in the following circumstances or an equivalent type of introductory phrase. We don't want a bit of fluff at the start, basically. We also asked it to provide citations for all the answers so that the human can check. But actually we carried on and we gave an example of a good answer, depending on the specific details in the lease. So we gave the AI a good answer as well, and you'll see at the bottom, in the good answer, we referred to requirement for notice, because that was something that the bank would want to know. So we clarified the objective of the prompt. We certainly didn't ask please. We asked for the output to be structured in a particular way, numerical list, and with citations that we can check. And then, to give it some context, we gave it an example of a good answer. Now, there's a lot of debate around how you train real estate lawyers for using Gen AI. I do not have any of those answers to that question. But what is clear is that lawyers still need their core legal knowledge now as much as they did 30 years ago, because you can't boss the AI without your legal knowledge. It's a people business. Now, I recently visited our Newcastle office, and the hotel, very excitingly, offered a butler bot. I mean, how cool is that? I thought, ooh, but I didn't use it, and why not? Firstly, I didn't want to stay in my hotel room all night. I like people. And let's be honest, Netflix and butler bots have limited appeal. And I wanted some human interaction. So I went down to the restaurant. And another reason was that I wanted a glass of wine at the end of a long day with a long train journey. You can judge me all you like, okay? I just wanted a glass of wine. And I wasn't sure if the bot would be willing to give me a glass of wine, because I assumed it would probably need to check my ID. So maybe it would have to scan my driving license, and that would create GDPR issues for the hotel. Or maybe it would have to guess my age, which would take the hotel and the bot into a whole minefield of sensitivities, and they probably don't want to wrestle with any of that. So I figured if I used the bot, I wouldn't get my glass of wine. So I went down to the restaurant for my dinner, my wine, and a bit of a chat with the waiters. They were very tolerant of a tired lady who wanted a glass of wine. So bringing it back away from the bot, it's such a cool picture, isn't it? And back to law. Now, the majority of pitch and tender documents have a section on legal tech, where you have to boast about the kind of legal tech you can employ on the client's matters, and also a section about the human team. So why is it that there are both sections? Well, clients want a human team who can fluently speak to and lever the tech tools available to them, but they still want it provided as a personal, lawyer-led service that can pivot to all scenarios. So in hotel terms, they wanted a bot, they want a bot that can potentially serve it food 24 hours a day, but they also want to be served in the restaurant with a glass of wine, with a nice wide menu. The bot only offered quite a limited menu. And perhaps, you know, that they're looking for a chef that can think outside the box so that if the kitchen runs out of chips and potatoes, you still get your meal. That is what clients are looking for, and that's why they are interested in the human team and the legal technology. The two go together. Law is a people business. And lastly, I am going to say that it takes a village, a real estate village. So ignoring the rights and wrongs of the often really slow pace of change within the real estate legal sector, you are never going to succeed unless all the players are in an agreement. So the players are the clients, the lawyers, probably going to be two sets of them, the lender and the land registry. So I'm going to give you the example of DocuSign, which is a technology that, quite frankly, I'm surprised I'm still standing. It has taken so many hours of my life, particularly around the pandemic time. So within the commercial, I would say that it took 4 to 5 years to achieve that agreement from the initial use of DocuSign for non-land registry documents only, which is where we were at the start of the pandemic, to e-signatures now being a standard way of working within the commercial real estate space. But it took being at levels. We had to bring everybody on board, clients, lawyers, lenders, and the land registry. I was really proud of myself. I've been tracking the Law Commission response, and it was published late in the autumn of 2019. I'd been tracking it. By that point, I moved on to a different project. But I picked it back up, and coincidentally, but just don't tell my bosses, I just happened to be ready to launch DocuSign the second week of the pandemic. It was sheer coincidence, although of course I will say that my crystal ball is forever shiny. So I just moved it to the first week, and I did, a great presentation, and I was pleased with myself. And a partner who I have a lot of respect for, and he's always very keen to use technology, he said, "Katherine, that looks great, but we're not going to use it." He said, "Who's going to get contracts signed through DocuSign if we have to get the transfer wettings?" And that just sums it up, really. You have to get everyone on board, everyone willing to trust the technology in order to persuade them to work in a different way. So really, my message is very much the same as Katherine's message. So in terms of the future, it's not the bots, is it? And I'm gutted to say it's not the Katherines, although I think Katherine and I should work together. I think we would be quite effective, stroke slightly terrifying. The future is human and bots together. And that is all I have to say.
Hi, Katherine. I wondered if you had any tips for us on how to calculate the investment return. It's certainly something we're grappling with at the moment with various AI products.
My biggest tip would be keep it cloudy. It was something that Katherine touched on as well. It is very difficult to give that really solid ROI. We used to look at usage and, take an average, and therefore we must have saved 30 minutes each time we used it. We achieved so many uses this month, therefore we've saved this amount of law time. But unfortunately, that doesn't really wash anymore. What we are looking to prove is because the thing with technology is that as law firms, we're quite prone to give it away for free. So I think it is really hard. But as I said to my head of business group, yes, it is about profitability, but also it's about those bids and tenders. What are you going to say when you get asked to fill in the box about legal tech? Sorry, we've decided we're not sure if we can make the ROI work, so therefore we have nothing in our tech tool kit. And the other thing, to include is also the human side of it. Lawyers are expensive at the moment. It's a really buoyant market and people are churning. It costs churn. So also there's a bit of a fluffy, let's keep our lawyers happy. So I think it's a combination of all those things. I don't think it's just about profitability. So I think if you're pushed in that direction, I think you need to bring in all of those factors. But yeah, it is really difficult to prove it, Tina.
Thanks, Katherine.
Thanks, Katherine. That was really interesting. One of the things, as a fellow KDL, that we grapple with is how technology is going to impact on our junior lawyers as they're learning. Because obviously a lot of the grunt tasks, the kind of initial lease reporting looking at, it's brilliant that the tech can do that for us so quickly, but that would traditionally be what had trained up the junior levels. So I'd be really interested in how you think you can sort of assuage those fears and bring on the juniors, whether that's for more in-person human touch training, or if there's, I don't know if that's something you've given a lot of thought to, but it's something that gets talked about a lot, Arthur.
Training is still really important, because otherwise you can't assess whether the AI is getting it right. So in some ways, I think we're probably loading people up with more their legal knowledge, and they also need to learn about the new technologies. However, I think the younger cohort that are coming in, they will, in future, they will have grown up with the likes of ChatGPT, and I think they will be used to bossing the AI. So I think that will come more easily, but they still need the traditional legal knowledge as well. So I think at the moment, there's a bit of a double whammy. But going forward, I think it's going to be easier. And certainly I've seen a change in the way that my fee earners react. I was tasked with trying to roll out Kira, which is a AI platform that we train to read leases. And, it was oh my goodness, this is never going to work. This, it doesn't know what it's doing. And Kira failed. We didn't renew with it. But I think because I've been going on and on so much about AI and tech tools over the last 8 years, I think actually people's mentalities have changed so that they are more willing to embrace it. So I think there is less of a sort of a training, yay, this all works type need. But the core skills are still absolutely needed. I mean, we've all seen some really bad hallucinations from various platforms. You've got to be able to challenge the AI and also just use it properly.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Maybe if you'd like to put your hands together. Thank you very much, Katherine.